Hello everybody and welcome to Tech Talk Thursday from Creator Cafe. It's Thursday already, can't believe it. The week has flown by and we've had a fantastic week. Lots of live streams going on and things like that. We've got a few things to talk about today from the world of tech. This is the show where we talk about all things tech related to video production, live streaming, recording, content creation, whatever you want to call it. We'll talk about it on this show. But I can't do this show without my esteemed colleagues, so welcome as ever, Martin McKenna to the show. Hello, Martin. How you doing?
Hello, people out there in Radio Land. Yeah, we're doing well. It's been a busy week. Been a very busy week, and we're not finished yet.
Oh, so 1 second. Valerie says that there is some slapback going on. I thought we'd fixed that. Oh,
I thought we'd fixed that.
Hmm.
Thanks for watching, Valerie, and letting us know we have slapback.
Was that just in the beginning of the... Yeah, my speakers are off. There's nothing going on. Valerie, you'll have to tell us, Mrs. Moderator, if this slapback is going on. We had a few problems at the beginning of the show, but we'll just wait. We have to wait 15 seconds, don't we, before anybody can answer us.
Yeah, we do.
With the YouTube world. So that's a bit odd. I'm just looking here and I can't see anything. Maybe it was just...
Now, I have original sound
I
for
hear
musicians
it on both of
is
us.
off.
Wow. That's a pain. How do I fix that? Let me see if I can change my Zoom settings, but I'm live, so I probably can't. So, hear it on both of us. Well, I'll hear it on the recording later, but that is annoying. Okay, so I did have... Is that working now?
So your music's just gone off now. So
yeah, for you it'll have gone off because I've turned... I'm going to switch original sound for musicians off, but that shouldn't make a difference to the live stream because we're just broadcasting out whatever's going on here.
So interestingly enough, whatever you just did then, your voice just changed significantly.
Yeah, it probably sounds terrible now. Because you're listening to it on the Zoom call. Do you have audio monitor on? Oh, I wonder if that's playing up. Hang on. No, audio monitor is off. Everything is off. It's the normal setup. I haven't changed anything. The only thing that I deleted was there's a plugin playing up. Oh my gosh. Well, welcome to Tech Talks Thursday, trying to troubleshoot live. What else is going on? Debug live. Okay, I'm going to turn off the sound effects. So it's just Martin and myself now.
No sound effects. My original sound for musicians is currently off.
I'm just going to listen to it on YouTube. So I'll go on mute for a second and just see if it's on my side. If you just keep talking for a second, Martin, I'll give you full screen for a minute.
I'll just keep talking for a while. So we have been live doing a vertical show earlier in the week. So I've no idea whether Neil is now listening to me double time over, and the slapback, not echo, it's slapback. It's somehow something is taking my voice and somewhere it's being repeated because another microphone is hearing potentially me speaking. So Neil is currently looking for the source of the problem. So previously, just before we came on, Neil had got his speakers in the background switched on, and I was hearing myself through the speakers effectively. So there was a kind of a loop going on where Neil's speakers were coming into his microphone, which was then what I was hearing. So I was hearing myself back a few seconds after I was actually live. So I guess We will find out shortly what that is, but audio issues can be some of the most challenging ones to actually pinpoint, but in particular, when you've got quite a complicated audio setup like Neil's got. So he's got something called a Rodecaster with all sorts of things plugged into it. I've just got a simple microphone it's not plugged directly into the computer. It goes via a little box called a Focusrite. It's an XLR microphone, but it's a very, very simple setup and should be working.
So for some reason, you are fine. And when I listen to this back, but it sounds like it's me. It's not you, it's me. So I'm just going to play this 1 second.
They always say that. So far, 7 minutes of top entertainment for you folks. Can't be beaten. Join the tech talk and learn everything about audio.
Okay, so I mean, it actually sounds fine, even on the live stream. So I don't know. Maybe we just carry on. It seems to be fine to me listening on YouTube. So anybody out there in Radio Land who's listening to this, tell me if we've got any slapback, any echo going on, and we'll just I'll just crack on because I can't hear it on the YouTube side. So anyway, all right. Sorry about that. 7 minutes of, as you said, valuable entertainment. It's a good job we're not charging people for this. Not yet, anyway. So Valerie's asking in the chat, have you made that vertical profile available yet? And she apparently is asking for a friend. So I'm not...
Yes, there's been a number of people asking for a friend. The answer is no, it's not available yet. And the reason is quite simple. It's quite a big profile. It's fairly complicated. And the biggest challenge with sharing a profile is tidying it all up. So, you know, if you're creating a profile and you make copies of things, it says copy of. There's a lot of that going on. So really, I need to go change and tidy all of that up and then tidy up all of the name tags for all of the individual elements and stuff like that. And that's kind of a long job and a really, really dull and boring job as well. So what I would rather do is play about with them a couple of times. And then what you learn to do is organize your folders in such a way that it's easy to make changes to them by cutting and pasting, copying folders and things like that. And ultimately that is better for the end user once they get hold of that profile. So there are some profiles on the site which are in tool already, just not that specific profile at the moment. But I've been now asked several times, where do I get that? How do I get that? So clearly people enjoyed watching the show, and thank you, Valerie, for your technical assistance in testing out the Zoom Active speaker as well. So we were able to do that as well. And as we'll find out, we've got more guests and more of that going on, and I imagine it's going to gain quite a head of steam, because I had noticed also on my LinkedIn profile a couple of people who appear to be very well-known people suddenly looking at the profile, and I thoroughly suspect Mr. Chris Stone has been having a chat with a couple of people saying, look what I was on, we should be doing this. So I'm sure that potentially is where that has come from, but we will see. Watch this space.
Exactly. So we've got to the root cause of the problem. It was Valerie's fault. She had two windows open, causing slapback. So it was nothing to do with us at all.
Thanks very much, Valerie.
So Val, thanks for that. You could. I'll get my coat, as they say.
Yeah,
it's
we
all
can't
right,
get
Valerie.
the staff, can you?
I mean, come on, for goodness sake. Anyway, all joking aside, thank you, Valerie. It's always good to check, and That's what happens when you have two windows open. We have John in the house. Hi, John. Thank you for joining us today. You might be featured a little bit later, so stand by.
You will be featured a little bit, John.
Stand by. Martin's going to feature you later. We're just going to have a little chat about sort of workspaces and things like that, so I hope you don't mind. We've got a couple of screenshots of you live to show the entire audience. And speaking of Chris, and poof, just turns up. So there you go. Thank you, Chris, for joining us. Good evening. No slap back here. Good. I thought I was going crazy, but that's okay. I thought, well, I normally haven't changed anything, so that's all right, though. But you did get me worried because I was testing out this weekend. I did a video on the new Elgato Wave 2 plugin, which I'll talk about briefly in a second. So that's got me a little bit concerned, thinking there was something wrong. So the music's back. We're back. Shall we start the show again?
We'll start again. Well, we're going to start by saying thanks to all of our guests who did appear on the show on Tuesday,
yes,
which allowed us to fill up all of the spots on the whole of the screen vertically. So we really pushed Ecamm to the limits, and at one point we had effectively myself as the host plus 8 guests all live, and the active speaker as well within Zoom, which is maxing out Ecamm. But it was a facility that would be great for a town hall type meeting or a very large Zoom meeting where you got a panel of guests sitting there and you wanted to have one of your 200 people in the audience pop on live and just jump into the active speaker. So we did that. And Neil, name all the guests that we had.
You're going to put me on the spot. Well, first of all, thank you, as Martin said, to everybody who did join us on Tuesday. It was the first time we actually had a fully populated set of people on the presentation that Martin had created, because it was fantastic to see all the people. So we had Chris, we had Lindley, we had Valerie, we had Jess, we had Robin, we had Douglas. I've missed somebody, haven't I? Was that it?
Mark.
Oh, Mark. Sorry, Mark. Oh, Creative Amplifier's co-host. Sorry, Mark. I missed you out there. So yeah, I think we had that. I mean, it was a full complement, and everybody was coming in
Val.
1080p. And Val. We mentioned Val. We were not going to talk about Val now. She's sort of banned for the day. I'm just kidding. We could not do this without you, Val. It's no problem. What was really interesting for me is to see everybody in the vertical format all together in like a little town hall, and how Martin sort of brought them in with that amazing overlay that you created where we're just cycling through the guests. It's just a really nice immersive way of bringing people in. So for those who are watching the show who didn't see this, we did broadcast it live. It's on the respective YouTube channels, so go and watch it in the replay. And we are doing more vertical shows, which we'll plug and talk about a little bit later. But yes, indeed, it was a fun show. And that actually speaker worked really well, and we had all the guests' name placeholders added. So it was really, I say it was really easy to do. I know Martin put a lot of effort in getting it working. But I think once it's set and configured, and you keep using the same sort of overlays and things, it's pretty straightforward, right? Once you bring in the people in, because it's effectively a Zoom call, which is interesting.
It is. A couple of the things that I noticed, and they're minor things, but really, really good. One was the name placeholders when you put your cameras in a circle seemed to go into quite a nice location, because there was the danger it sort of, I know, placed a name over the middle of your face or something like that, but it doesn't. They're slightly off to one side and look really cool. And the other one was, much to my surprise, I did a sort of a reveal of guests who were in the background, which is kind of apparently like Dallas style introductions where it rolled down a little bit of green screen was rolling over the top of the image to gradually reveal the guest and then hide them again. And that seemed to be the most popular part of the show, actually. So I'll have to tweak that a little bit and get it working, because it was a kind of a preliminary version that I wasn't sure I was going to show. But as soon as I thought, oh, I've got all these guests here. So one of the most difficult things to test when you don't have all the guests here is you sitting on your own several times on the camera and then trying to get things to work. In particular with this live motion stuff, it's quite difficult to test because you want to see a camera moving from one place to another. But if you just make them both the same camera, all sorts of weird things happen. So you end up having to duplicate your own camera like 10 times for camera A, B, C, D, E, F, just to get things moving around the screen. So yeah, there's a bit of a long process of playing about. But once it's set up, you're golden. You join your Zoom call, you say allocate to guest 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're just going to pop up on the screen in the appropriate locations. So yeah, more of that to come.
Valerie agrees, the reveal part was super cool. It was the best part of the show, effectively. That's what everybody's saying. Forget about the guests, forget about us, just showing that reveal. That looks like Dallas. I didn't realize it was green screen as well. I think you had shown me something similar before a while ago when you were squirreling away at building something, but I'd forgotten it was green screen. And I just love the way that it's just a nice way of revealing people, and it's just sort of bringing stuff in. And now with this new animation and things that you can do with Ecamm, I think you are just sort of pushing the limits in terms of what you can do with this stuff. And there's lots of creative ideas. I'm convinced you don't sleep and you're awake at night going, I think I'm going to do that when I wake up. Do you dream?
I do.
Do you dream
wake up in the
scenes
morning,
and things? Do you? Is that what?
I do. I
dream
Ecamm.
Dream Ecamm. Oh goodness. All right.
That reveal is quite an interesting one in that it use chroma key is the way that it does it. So it was a little, and it's meant to be like an Instagram reveal template. So you would be revealing a picture behind the template, but in fact, instead of putting a picture behind the template, because it's a little animation, what I do is put a green square behind the template, then tell Ecamm it's chroma key, and then because I put the camera behind the template reels over black bars, and lo and behold, behind them is the camera with a person live instead of just a picture. So it's a kind of a backwards workaround for what it was actually intended, but it works really well.
Chris has said that it would be really good as a game, so you could reveal something that Stream Alive does in terms of a little quest. And I guess you could make it as large or as small as you want, right? If I know it's built for Instagram, it's a particular size, but you could make it and so on. Guess who's behind door one?
Yeah, you could definitely make it. Yeah, you could make it a sort of game where you have to, like one of those memory games where you turn the cards over and then turn them back again, and then you have to say, right, pick a pair of cards or something. So if there was an Ecamm mug under square 1 and square 9, you have to remember which pair they are under. So you could definitely do a sort of game, something like that. Yeah,
nice for a giveaway when all the merch comes in, something like that.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
And you could even, so you got me going now, because you could blur or pixelate things behind that reveal, and then the next scene you make it slightly less blurred or pixelated, and the next one slightly less, so people get the opportunity to say, oh, that's, I know, Paris, London, New York, whatever it is appearing. But because you're doing it with blur and that reveal, I think it could work quite well.
Good quizzes.
He says making work for himself.
Oh well, that's the next step. Don't make any more work for yourself. So today we wanted to talk about a few things that are going on in the tech world. Nothing in too much detail because we haven't played with them in great detail. But obviously the big news earlier this week or the back end of last week was the fact that China has released a new version or a similar thing to ChatGPT called DeepSeek. It's an interesting name. And I'm just curious, anybody in the chat has actually looked and played with it at the moment. I had a go at it and just tried to play with it to see what it would give me and just try and compare them side by side with ChatGPT and DeepSeek. And I found it to be quite interesting. It's pretty fast. It's free. They did have a little bit of almost like a denial of service attack on the site, because anybody that tried to sort of sign up and log in were just getting rejected. One, because I think it was overwhelmed with the number of people that wanted to sign up and try it out. And then the second point, I think, was the fact that maybe something was going on to stop it from working. But the fact that they managed to build this on sort of not the latest and greatest technology, using old NVIDIA chipsets, which they can't get the new ones now. So they built everything on the old ones. And I think they spent around $6 million, right, building this amazing architecture. And compared to ChatGPT or OpenAI that make ChatGPT, you'd spent, what is it, like hundreds of millions of dollars on it or something like that. It's quite phenomenal, the difference in cost. And then there was something going around that I read in the news that I found quite funny, whereby, well, OpenAI was complaining that DeepSeek had stolen the technology, well, not necessarily the technology, the data behind the technology that drives GPT. But then, wait a minute, OpenAI, you've taken all our data that we've put out there on the internet and harvested that for yourself to learn. So, who owns the intellectual property? Well, we do, effectively, because it is our data. Anyway, as soon as you give it out to the internet, then it's fair game and anybody can use it. But I thought that was quite funny that they were complaining that they'd stolen that. So, bottom line is, DeepSeek is out there. How long it's going to be around, how big the adoption is going to be, and how it can cope with the influx of people remains to be seen. But anybody that's been using it, I'd be interested to know in the chat. So Valerie says that she's heard about it, but haven't played with it yet. Yeah, just have a go. Just log in, deepseek something or other, com or whatever, or org or whatever it's called. But either way, it's an interesting new take on GPT. And I think for us as consumers, there has to be, and there will be, more ChatGPT-like systems out there, and it's only going to help us from a consumer perspective if it's going to drive the cost down, make it more affordable for everybody, and also make it run better and give us more quality information. Then we'll see. Yes, Martin.
Yeah, so I'm just seeing Val pop up there, and it's just reminded me. So I could ask this question: what's your favorite AI tool? And I can think of a couple of AI tools which I think are cool. But I think Valerie was looking at learning management systems and things like that. And I came across a platform recently called Eureka.io, I think. Don't ask me to spell Eureka. You can go do that yourself. Spelling is not my strong sport. But what it allowed you to do was put in the characteristics for a training course. So Neil and I are looking to do a training course on LinkedIn Live. So I was able to type in all of the aspects of that training course. And then the AI tool goes off into the distance, looks all around the internet, and in particular at well-known websites for learning, including LinkedIn Learning as well. And it brings back all of the courses which kind of fit your description. And it will then tell you, if it's got the data, how many people have been on those courses, how much money was made by those courses, how popular they were effectively, how old they are, and all of the content of the courses broken down into chapters as well, so that you could then do a gap analysis of what was out there versus what you intended to create and put together. Meaning that literally at a press of a button, once you put in the description of the course you're putting together, the AI model will give you a score of how popular it's likely to be based upon the data that it actually has from similar type of courses. And because it's gathered as many price points as it can, it also gives you price points potentially that you could use. And then furthermore, it allows you to press another button that goes and creates a whole bunch of content or course outlines or a document or a book even, actually, depending, because it works the same for courses and for books as well. So if you were thinking of writing a book, it's exactly the same sort of research standards. But that's Eureka.io. I think it cost me something like $41 for 3 months. So you can trial it for 3 months. And of course, really, you only need it for a few minutes to say, oh, actually, there are no other courses on LinkedIn Live. We found there are only 2 other courses. One was really talking about being confident on camera, and the other one, although it looked very good, was like 4 years old, and so completely out of date in terms of what LinkedIn currently do. So Eureka.io, definitely one of my favorite tools. Go have a look at that, Valerie. It might help you out. I certainly know I told Alec Johnson about it, and he immediately got stuck into it and then told everyone else about it. So he got quite excited about it straight away. So if you're producing lots of course material, yeah, go and have a look at that. And the other one that it's been around for quite a while now is Gamma, which we've found is very, very useful for creating PowerPoints and documents, PDFs and things like that, that look fantastically good. And I would say from a relatively short description, it comes out with some really great content for you. So we wrote, for instance, I typed in, give me some guidelines for people coming onto a live stream call for Ecamm. What should it do? And it came up and it said, wear headphones and position your camera carefully and so on and so forth. But it also presented it in a really nice looking format as well. So Gamma, I don't know what the rest
it's
of it is.
Gamma.app.
Gamma.io.
Gamma.app. Yeah, that's what it is. I was actually just gonna have a look at it and show people, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that or not. Because I haven't got my scene set up for screen sharing. The good thing go ahead, sorry.
I'll tell you what I can do, right? Segue to John for a little bit later on, but John, you're getting an early mention. So we'll come back to why we're looking at this particular screen, but the slide there, which says Level 3 Advanced Techniques, was created by Gamma. I did nothing. I was just asking it, tell me something about cameras and backgrounds and things, and it produces a nice layout and a nice image, and you can choose from many, many different templates for the different styles and things like that. So that was just one slide created by Gamma. So highly recommend looking at that package and playing about with that.
It's showing us there, but I believe it's Gamma.work. It's Gamma.app, I think. That's what I was just looking at. But we'll, I don't know what Gamma.work is. I'm going to have a look at that in a second. Gamma.work. No, it's not loading for me. Create an efficient AI generated PPT. No, it's that's another one actually. So that looks exactly like what Gamma.app does as well. So Gamma.work is another one where it will create a customized PowerPoint with one click. So the beauty of Gamma.app is it will also allow you to pull in a PDF that you may have created previously or a PowerPoint presentation that you've already done. So it'll take basically what you've already got and it will create something fresh and new, as Martin's just shown from what he did for John. So it's really clever in terms of just being able to pull out images from various sources. It'll also create AI-based images using Flux and other AI-based tools. It'll also pull resources in from different places. So it's very good, and you can really sort of tailor it and configure it and do what you want. The free version gives you, I think, up to 6 or 8 cards in your PowerPoint deck, and then if you pay for it, which I think myself and Martin have, that I know I've definitely paid for it, but I think Martin's paid for it as well, then that'll give you many more cards, many more options to change the text and the format of the images and the different engines it uses. So it's very, very comprehensive.
I like the see, one of the things I really like is that you can also put parameters around the images. So you can say, I want clean, professional, non-fussy images. So that way you don't end up with a load of cartoons or something like that, which drives me bonkers with the likes of Canva and things like that. That I sort of put something together and it generates images, which is quite clever. And then you look at them and you think they've been chosen by an 11-year-old, these images. They're terrible. Or it suddenly gives you a load of, I don't know, Harry Potter style things, or a load of Game of Thrones type images, or some sort of Minecraft images. It's totally inappropriate for what I'm looking for. Whereas the Gamma presentation tool just allows me to say, no, I want them to look clean and professional, and it does a very good job of giving you nice images then.
It definitely does. So yeah, those That's probably one of my favorite AI tools that I've been using a lot as well. I'm still using Midjourney a lot for images, and I'm still using, much to my annoyance sometimes, Descript for some of the video editing, which is good. I like the transcript features in Descript for AI and things like that, but it can get a bit annoying. And I've had a few hiccups, for want of a better term, with Opus.clip recently. So Opus Pro has been playing up with some of the videos I've been throwing at it. I'm not sure what's going on there. Still got a couple of support cases open with them, but they were very nice because they credited me back some of the credits that I used to make these videos. So they're still looking into what's going on. There's some out of sync issues and weird stuff going on with the captions. But and it also did it with another video, Martin, just to let you know as well. We were talking about this before. So maybe it's overloaded. Maybe it's getting to capacity. Who knows? This is what happens sometimes with these tools, right? They just sort of break under the load. Anyway, speaking of new tools and things coming out. So YouTube, for certain people, I'm not one of them. I don't know whether you are, Martin. I think it all depends on the actual user base and how many subscribers you've got and things like that. So YouTube is releasing, or has released to some of the population, something called YouTube Communities. Now, for those of you that have a YouTube account and those that sort of post within the YouTube tab that you have at the moment, which is actually strangely still called Communities, what that allows you to do currently is allow you to do posts, polls, image polls, text polls, and things like that. Similar to what you can do on X and Threads, where you can ask the community, your subscriber community, a question. They can then respond with their answers. And it's just a way of sort of building a little sort of a community chat within your YouTube subscriber arena based on who's watching your videos and things like that. So what they've done now, apparently, is they're allowing you to do more threaded-based conversations based around that communities. So think of it like Discord, for example, but now within the YouTube Communities tab. So that means you can have conversations around topics that, one, you may just post out randomly. So similar to like a social platform where you can post a topic, you can have a threaded community chat around that. Or it could be based on one of the videos that you've recently posted. People can get sort of into the conversation there. And right now, for me, it's quite hard to look through the comments that come into the video. As every video's got its own comments, you can check the ones that you've not responded to. And it's just a bit of a faff to go through and find anything meaningful. So I think if they're now going to build this into a threaded-based community platform, similar to Discord and other mechanisms, I just want them to make it easier for us to be able to find those comments and be able to search for them and then respond accordingly. So maybe you can upvote and do things like that with Reddit. I'm not sure, but I haven't got it yet. So hopefully that'll come to everybody very soon, but I haven't seen it in my app. And that will be in the YouTube Studio app. It won't be in the YouTube Player app. And that's another confusing thing, because you get comments and notifications in the YouTube app itself, which is where you view and play videos. Then if you've downloaded the YouTube Studio app, that's just like a standalone app for changing your descriptions, doing basic edits on your videos and things like that, and also conversing with your community. But you can't post community chats using the YouTube Studio app. You have to go into the regular app and then post within your own channel. It's very confusing, so I don't like it how it is at the moment, so hopefully they'll fix that. But it's a bit annoying, especially if you're a content creator, where you have to jump between these two apps to do something. They need to consolidate and put everything in one app, in my opinion. But I don't know if you engage with your community much, Martin, on your side at the moment, or you just sort of, because you're still building the channel up, I think, right?
Yeah, still building the channel up, but I can certainly see the value in being able to look at comments across multiple videos. That would be useful, i.e., can I put in a search term and then run that across all of my videos for the last 3 months to look for questions that have got that particular term in it, and then go back and perhaps follow up on particular comments. That would be a very useful thing.
Yeah.
But just to generally organize it, because it's just a dustbin load of comments, isn't it, next to each video, which you then are in no particular order and no grouping. So anything would be better than the way it works at the moment, I think, would be.
And then people can comment on the comments, and then it's hard to find. I don't like it. Hopefully it'll be better. We'll see. And I know there's a few videos that people are posting who've got it at the moment. So that'll be interesting just to see how they're going to use it and whether it's a good idea or not. Valerie says, Opus is still not my favorite thing. Yeah, tell us what you find annoying about Opus. I think it does a good a job as it can, based on maybe the prompts and some of the things that you give it to find the salient moments in your video. But if you've got a long live stream, for example, where it's trying to find things, then it's trying to clip certain bits. I sometimes find that it cuts stuff off when you're trying to use it, and therefore you have to go in and re-edit. And that's why I like Descript in that sense, because you can just throw the entire video to Descript. It'll do the transcript for you, but then you have to go through and start picking those points out. So that's where it can spend, or you can take a little bit of time. If you want something done quickly, then Opus is pretty good for that. How accurate it is another matter. But interested to see what your experience has been so far with Opus.
So, next question. Is there any hardware that's new this month?
Is there any? Oh, well, sort of. There's two things.
You always look surprised when I give you the prompt.
I know, but I'm thinking, what hardware are we talking? Well, there's two things that's come out recently. So Elgato have released this new version of their software, which is Wave Link 2. And this is both for Mac and PC. Astonishingly, they've done it for both versions. And I was testing it out only a couple of days ago, and I posted a video on my channel about it. And it's essentially a voice-focused plugin for people that are in noisy environments. There's been a ton of plugins that have been released over the years. Some are better than others. So Elgato have decided to embed this in the latest version of the Wavelink 2 software. And for those of you that don't know what Wavelink 2 is, it's a piece of software that's a virtual mixer that can be used with the Elgato Wavelink series of microphones and interfaces. So they've got a thing called the Wave XLR, which is just an interface similar to the Focusrite that you've got, Martin. You can plug in your XLR microphone, but it's got digital signal processing, or DSP, built in, which means that you can take advantage of EQ, compression, and all other things. And now they've added this other layer, which means that you can have voice isolation, voice focus enabled on that. So if you're in a noisy room and in an echoey room, for want of a better term, then you can actually enable this, and it will really do a decent job of isolating your voice and cutting everything else out. And I tested it with a air conditioning dehumidifier unit 4 feet away from me, and it was incredibly noisy, and enabling it didn't sound too bad. Now, you are going to get things like artifacting, where your voice sounds really sort of compressed and a bit Donald Duck-like if you put it in too high. But for the most part, it worked pretty well. And I think if you're in a bit of a situation where you need to have that, then I would use it. And it's similar to Crisp. A lot of people use Crisp. I know a few people in the Ecamm team use that. And Crisp is, again, another plugin that sits on your machine. So if you've already got the Elgato software, and if you're sort of into the Elgato ecosystem, then it might be worth you taking a look. It's a free upgrade. It doesn't cost you anything to try it. Just a word of caution, though. I did record a video with it enabled, and I noticed that some of the video was getting a little bit out of sync. So we had some sync drift when I was recording this as a test. So I don't know whether that's to do with the plugin specifically, because obviously there's latency associated with any plugin that you add for your voice. So it might be causing some issues. So yeah, take a look at that. And obviously with the new version of Ecamm, you can use the audio units and plugins specifically for that within Ecamm as well. So you might be able to sort of use that. I haven't actually tried that, so that might be something to do. We have Gretchen in the house. Hello, Gretchen. Nice of you to be here. Thanks for joining us. We're just talking about plugins and all kinds of weird stuff as well. The other thing that is potentially coming out for everybody that's a little bit annoying, we were talking only the other day to John actually about teleprompters, large screens, whether you have a small teleprompter, a large teleprompter. In your case, you have, what is the monitor behind you? Is it a 40-inch monitor, or is it just like a big 32-inch monitor or something that you have?
No, it's bigger than that. It's pretty big.
Is it like a TV, right?
It's a 40-inch, I would think, and then the lower monitor that I've got is really wide.
Right. Yeah.
So they're both fairly wide screens. So let's have a look. I'll show you it says swapping cameras. and then looking for my Osbot Center, which has disappeared on me.
Well, if you use an Ecamm beta, you can use the PTZ controls, right?
I could use the PTZ controls, couldn't I?
Yeah, just go into camera switch, you'll find them there.
If I'm on the right camera, it would help, though. That's
well, there is that.
There
is that as well. Hey, Daryl, Video Like a Dad, thank you for joining us. We're in the thick of looking at Martin's setup at the moment. Well, I don't know what he's doing. He's going up and down.
Just bear with me for a second.
There
we go.
We were talking about teleprompters and big screens. Oh, you've gone too far. You've gone too far. You've gone too far, Martin. Come back.
Go back. You're just seeing my shelf now.
It's like watching the sheepdog trials.
So there you go. There you go. If I can stay out of the picture, then it won't jump back on me.
All right.
So that's me just looking directly at the ZVE10 camera.
Which is
and
here.
There's the monitor sitting behind it, but it's pretty big. And with my
so we're talking about this monitor here, aren't we?
Vision, I can actually see exactly what's on it. So is the new Elgato one bigger? Is that what it is?
Well, they haven't said anything that about it. So there was I know there's a little bit of a teaser about the hardware. So I saw a comment or something on X or Threads or wherever it was that I'm looking at right now, and I have a bit of a relationship with Elgato anyway, with regards to sort of trying to fix things and stuff like that. So I pinged the guy and I said, so does this mean there's a new Elgato Pro prompter coming out that's going to be much bigger than the other one? He said, absolutely, they're working on it right now. So watch this space. There will be, by the look of things, a brand new Elgato monitor coming out. Now, what I'm thinking they're going to do is they're going to compete with the other teleprompter market, whereby a standard Pro teleprompter is probably around 24 inches, something like that. So they might do a 12-inch version or a 24-inch version. But right now, the one that we're using, or I'm using, should I say, is only 9 inches across. So I think and it has to be pretty close to you. So I can almost touch the teleprompter from here because it has to be quite close. One, for my eyesight, and two, the fact that if it's too far away, then I won't be able to see anything on it at all. And I think for the larger teleprompters in a professional mode, like for Martin, for example, if he wanted to stand up now, go to the back of his room, do some green screen magic, but still wanted to keep eye contact with the audience, get comments coming in and seeing his script potentially, then the bigger production houses and in proper TV studios have much larger teleprompters. And I think some of them go up to like 24 inches. So it's like having a 24-inch monitor basically in front of you, which is more than enough. And I've got a confidence monitor down here that's like a 32-inch monitor, which would be fantastic. I don't know how big it's going to be or how much it's going to cost, but I'm excited because I know a lot of people do want to have a larger teleprompter. How are they going to get this thing to be mounted and stuff? It'll probably come with its own tripod. It would have to, because it's going to be quite heavy, I suspect. But let's see. So yeah, that's the news from Elgato. You heard it here. I don't know when it's going to appear, but hopefully it will. No idea about costs. But the actual Elgato 9-inch version was reasonably priced, I thought, for a teleprompter. You can get like a 12-inch teleprompter. That's nearly $500-600, which seems quite expensive to me. So we'll see. But this one was quite cheap. All right. So that was the news about the prompter. Do you want to talk about studio bills before we close up the show?
Yeah. So one of the things that myself and Neil are doing is we're working, as I mentioned earlier on a training course for LinkedIn Live, because there isn't much out there at all at the moment that technically says, how do I get set up for LinkedIn Live? And if you Google that term, you'll get all sorts of information back, which is wrong, because LinkedIn keeps changing things all the time. So you really need to know how to go live in 2025, and it's totally different from the vast majority of stuff that will come back. So technically we wanted to talk through how to do that and all the different components that you need. So things like Restream and StreamYard and Ecamm and where they all fit in, and if you want to do a different type of feed, could you potentially use Zoom on its own? So what's the minimum viable product for going live on LinkedIn? So we're going to do a course all around that. But as part of it, and this is connected to the fact that LinkedIn is now pushing video content, as part of it, really, we also thought, well, it is very important to not just have quantity of video out there on LinkedIn, but quality as well. So we're talking about studios, the look and feel of your studio, the quality of your camera, the quality of your background, the quality of your microphone, and how it all hangs together. So last week on this show, we had John Bellingham, who's an expert for ConvertKit, and he told us all about ConvertKit, and it's something that myself and Neil are very keen to use as part of this process of putting out the new video content training course on LinkedIn. However, we don't really have time to go and learn all about ConvertKit, and John knows everything. But John came back to us and said, "Oh, I've got camera envy over your backgrounds and what everything looks like, etc., etc." So I did a quick proposal with a swap of information with John, saying, "Listen, if you can help us out with ConvertKit, we can help you out with your studio and camera and stuff like that, and help you get that looking even better than it already does, because it already looks perfectly respectable, but there are, levels that anybody can move up, 1, 2, 3 levels." So we thought, right, let's get John on a call earlier this week, yesterday, and have a quick look at his setup, what he's got at the moment, and how we might be able to help him in terms of just improving that setup. So hopefully we've given John lots of ideas, but Neil, I think, has got a couple of examples of just some simple tips and tricks for anybody out there watching, to do with the positioning of your camera, where your camera sits, and we've just discussed teleprompters. Looking eye level. Eye level is everything, everybody.
Exactly. So let's just go into the share a second. So we took a couple of screenshots from the call we had with John. So if you don't mind, John, we're just going to show one of your clips in a second. So the first one was basically John's setup as it stands at the moment. So this is just a screen grab, so don't worry. So some of the things that we were talking to John about is first of all, the camera is a little bit low. So there's quite a bit of space between the top of John's head and the frame, and therefore it's a little bit distracting. That's the first thing we noticed. The other thing was that we've got some areas here where there are paintings. I couldn't even think what they call them, pictures in frames, sorry. And the frames are sort of coming out of John's head at that point, which is also a little bit distracting. The plant's really nice. So it's a nice plant that he's got here. And it is exactly, but the whole lighting, as you can see, is quite a flat. It's flat. There's not a lot of depth in the scene. So there's a couple of things that we've suggested to him. But the first one, and anybody can do this, as Martin said, you're looking down at your camera. Maybe your camera's on the top of your laptop. Maybe it is just your laptop camera. Typically, with these cameras, you're actually looking down because of where the actual laptop is positioned. So if you get a book, if you get a box and put the laptop on top of it, then you're instantly going to make a difference in terms of how you look within your scene. So I'll just remove that one. So this is John just simply moving his camera. And straight away, you feel instantly more connected with him because you now can see that he's looking more at you within the camera view itself. And if you just apply the rule of thirds to this, which is a principle whereby it's more pleasing to have elements in your frame intersecting at various corners of the rule of thirds frame, then in this particular case, I always say that if you can get your eye level on this top level here, then at least you are the correct position from the top of the frame, and at least then you're looking at approximately at eye level compared to everybody else, and you're looking more directly at the subject at the other end of the camera. So it's a little bit more pleasing. Also, John's more centered now as well. And just by moving your camera, it's amazing how you can actually change and level up your setup. We haven't done anything to the lighting. We haven't done anything just apart from moving the camera. So there's a few things that we've suggested to John to do, which he's going to go away and do a little bit of homework and stuff. Maybe add some lighting here where the plant is. Maybe even orient the desk and the area so it points a little bit more into the corner, as an example. Anything that can be done with the minimal amount of outlay, can make a huge difference to the room. Is there anything else you wanted to mention, Martin, what you've spoken to John about as well?
No, I think the other things that we talked about with John was moving his lighting higher and at a bit of an angle to avoid glare into his glasses, because he's wearing glasses much like you are. So really you do need to get your lights above you and down at 45 degrees to avoid the glare coming straight back into your glasses. You want to avoid a ring light straight in front of you, because you will get angel eyes in your glasses. It will look spooky, it will look horrible. Don't do it. So don't do that. And I think I also mentioned to John that I felt that he wanted a darker colour in the background behind him, just because it would contrast with like myself and John. We live in Scotland. We've all got lovely light blue skin, and it doesn't play well with a white background. You just sort of blur into it. So really, we gave John a bit of homework and said, "Oh, do you think you could maybe make the room a darker colour, or put lighting on that back wall to make it another colour?" So I think John was quite keen on painting the room blue anyway, so that's good. And then we're getting him to rearrange the furniture a little bit to point into a corner, and that's just to give you that depth of field. So behind me, I've got that monitor at a slight angle and some shelving at a slight angle, so you can see how that gives me some depth of field. And then the key blue lights which are sitting behind me, and if I just move to one side, you'll see they're just LED lamps pointing at the wall. And I've got a very ill-looking plant in the corner, nothing like as nice as John's, but I've got lights sitting behind that little plant in the corner, again lighting the wall and highlighting the shape of the plant. So very, very simple things. These are not expensive lights, but it will be easy to make some big differences. So we're really looking forward to working a little bit with John and seeing where he gets to by this time next week, after a little bit of moving things around. And we're hoping, because I've shown Joan a couple of little teasers there of things we thought we might be able to get him doing at some point in the future. This is not going to happen straight away, John, but we're hoping that we can either get something like this going on, because John does have a green screen set up as well, and does share his desktop as well. So maybe something like this going on with John in the corner and his live desktop sharing going on, and we'll maybe try and convince him that Ecamm is the way to go and do that, rather than the way that he currently works, which is to do things with OBS and to do some screen flow recording and then stitch it all together. So that's further down the line. But number one, I think John just wanted to have a nice environment that could go in and look professional in the background, and we think we can help out with that quite quickly and easily. And we think John can help us quickly and easily with his kit knowledge. So it'll be win-win. And he can do a case study on us as well, which is great. So myself and Neil can turn up, talk about our requirements, what we need to do, and John can go, I know how to do all of that, and immediately do it. So, hey, sharing is caring, as they say.
That's right. Kit for dummies, basically, is what we're going to be doing. So a couple of comments to your points there, Martin. So Daryl says he uses a box to raise his laptop. You can always find something lying around the house. It doesn't have to be glamorous. And Valerie's right, boxes can be lifesavers. If you look behind the scenes in some of Howie Studios, there's lots of things sort of strung together. I've got gaffer tape on my monitor because it was reflecting in my glasses the other day. That was something I'll talk about in a second. Daryl also says that removing distractions behind you helps. Yeah, especially so. I'll look like this. I'll just go to full screen for a second. Because my camera has decent depth of field, well, it's the lens I'm using that gives the illusion of depth of field and the blurry background. If this was all in focus, because I'm in focus and the background is out of focus, if everything was in focus, then it just would look flat. It wouldn't look as sort of nice or as pleasing to the eye. And as Martin pointed out, I've got a desk It's basically a desk here that's a sort of an L shape that I've got around me, and then behind me is a keyboard. But I've got very sort of light touch lighting here on my system. There's one light that you can't see that's pointing there. There's a white light that's giving the illusion of shadows on this fake plant, because no plants live where I live. And again here, another fake plant with just a little orange light behind it. And that's my lighting setup with two lights here either side of me. There's a big sort of light cascading on my face on this side and the smaller Elgato key light here. In fact, I'll just show you real quick if I go to this camera. So this big light here is only running at 8%. It's just because my lens and my camera is quite sensitive to the light, and just over this side is a key light that's just pointing at me. But as Martin mentioned, everything is above my head, because I don't want to get reflections on my glasses. If I look up, you'll see that you can always automatically see the light reflecting in my glasses. So get your lights as high as possible and pointing down if you are wearing glasses. And if you do have a key light, just move it away from you. Don't have it too close to your face, as Martin mentioned before. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I think something else associated with that, and I forgot to mention it, but I did mention it to John, and it's not immediately apparent to a lot of people, but if you start in the dark, then you control your lighting. So John has got a lovely big window in front of him, but the clouds will go past and the shadows and the lighting will change all the time. So 1 minute it'll be bright, the next minute it'll be raining, and then Neil controls his lighting. I can do the same thing.
Witness protection now.
Witness Protection Act. We can all just hide in the background. So I just have two key lights, the same as Neil, in front of me. That's all I've got. And I appreciate some people would rather have a brighter background. Entirely up to them. You could just point a light at your background and give it more brightness behind you. That's fine as well. So I do have a panel light that I sometimes use for green screen, but if I turn that on, it does make the whole background look brighter behind me. So yeah, up to you for the image you want, but starting in the dark means you're in total control of the lighting and not reliant on the continuous weather changing in Glasgow or Edinburgh, which does all the time.
So John's here, and he says that he's managed to rope his wife into the weekend makeover of his office. Well, we're really looking forward to seeing the results of that, John.
Don't blame us. Don't let your wife blame us, John, now.
Yeah, all we've just made is just simple suggestions, John. Yeah, we don't want to be called out for that. Gretchen says,
his wife's within driving distance of me. You're all right now.
Yeah, I'm fine. You'll have to come over to Portugal to beat me up. Lighter Blue Skin, the song Whiter Shades of Pale is now playing in Gretchen's head. So thank you, Martin, for that. What? Oh, yeah. And Daryl said, yeah, great job at reducing the glasses reflections. Another tip that I do with my setup is reducing the brightness on your monitors. Because if you've got a screen share that's going on, and inevitably a lot of these websites have a beautiful white background, for crisp and clean, it can really cause a lot of glare. It can, change the lighting on your face, and you should always set your camera up to manual mode, especially even if you are controlling the lighting, because setting your camera to auto exposure, auto white balance, auto everything will change when the ambient light changes. So if I was to set all my cameras up to auto exposure and then I'd throw a screen share up there which has got a white background, it's going to start to control the lighting, make me darker, because it's thinking, wait a minute, there's some extra light here, I need to turn down the sensitivity of the camera in order to compensate for the lighting. So control your lighting, control the camera to manual settings, and also reduce the brightness on all your monitors. You don't need these monitors to be super bright, and I've noticed that a small incremental decrease in your monitor brightness can have a really good effect on the glare that you're getting, especially in glasses, and also it will help you focus when you actually have multiple screens. And we know what Ecamm's like and all these other programs, they have multiple panels, multiple things going on. So if you have a lot of stuff going on and my monitor's right here, then I don't necessarily want to have it too bright and glaring in there. So, Robin has joined us. Late to the party. Can't wait to see your eyeglass tips. I've just given them. They're all there. That's it. So have your lights up and high. Don't use ring lights. Reduce the reflections in your system. And I will point out this thing that I mentioned the other day to John. So I was troubleshooting a problem in my studio whereby, I'll just go full screen in a second. So I had a line going across my glasses as a white blue reflection. And I turned all my lights off. And it kept on going on when I put this light on, this key light here, which is to my right. And I was thinking to myself, where is this glare coming from on my glasses? Because I've turned my monitors, I turned all the monitors down so I could hardly see them. And I was still getting this brightness coming up. And I'll just switch to this other camera. And the problem was, you can't see it here, but there's a strip at the bottom. And this monitor has a silver reflective stand. And the light from this light here was bouncing down, hitting the reflective monitor stand and hitting me in the face in my glasses. So all I did was got a piece of black tape and covered it up. Fixed it without a problem. And these just silly things can drive me crazy. And I'm a little bit sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? OCD, anal retentive. Take your pick when it comes to things like that. And I really, and these little sort of quirks can just really drive you crazy, but it's just the simplest things, and it's just a simple piece of tape that's fixed that problem.
I think it might have been Bradley Vincent, who was being asked, how do you manage not to get glasses glare? Because it's really difficult to avoid, blah, blah, blah. And he took his glasses off and he put his finger through them. There was no lens on his glasses at all. They were just part of his look.
Part of his look.
He just removed the lenses because he realised that caused problems. So he just got two frames sitting there, which doesn't help at all if your glasses are serving the purpose of actually helping you see.
Yeah, I need them. That's the problem. I can get laser eye surgery. It's a bit expensive to get laser eye surgery because you don't want the reflections in your glasses. There are cheaper alternatives, I'm convinced. Daryl says that he always forgets about monitors. They can be a huge source of lighting and sometimes adding some unwanted weird colouring to our faces. Yeah, and especially if your camera's on auto white balance, as I mentioned, you get some weird colours coming off the monitor. The blue light is not good for you anyway, so turn that down. Valerie says the line on my face was from the movie The Omen. I'm not sure how to follow that conversation, but thanks, Valerie, anyway.
We change subjects, don't we?
Great tips. And Daryl said having some black fabric to cover reflective surfaces is a real solution. One thing I've noticed as well is if you have a microphone, like Martin's microphone is slightly out of frame, but it's a microphone the same as this, the Shure SM7B, I think, Martin, that's correct, right? But it's actually out of frame. Yeah. If you're having some problems with reflections or your environment sounds a little bit sort of reflective and echoey when it comes to the sound, one of the things that you can do, which is really useful, is just get one of these or multiple. Where is it? Sorry, these mats for your desk. They're just fabric, gamer mats as you call them, for the gamers who sit there all day with a mouse and playing games. But they're really good because sound hits a hardwood desk, bounces back up and hits your microphone. So you can also dampen the reflective surfaces that you actually got your microphone on and use something like a desk mat. The bigger the desk mat, the better. Also helps with moving your mouse and things like that, or having something to put your mouse on, stop your keyboard slipping around. But one of the biggest things is that it will stop some crazy reflections coming on your desk if you do that. And it's a good way to treat the room, because you can buy the most expensive microphone, outboard gear, Rodecaster Pro, anything you want. But if your room still sounds very echoey and reflective, then you're going to have to start using some third-party plugins like we've mentioned before, noise cancellation, voice isolation, things like that. If you can get the room sounding as good as you can, then it's going to help you in the long run for stuff like that. Gretchen has, speaking of new kit, she's getting your prescription lenses put in her Meta glasses today. Looking forward to recording with them while she's out shooting. That's the same glasses that Doug has, right, Martin? The Meta glasses?
That's right. That's, the Ray-Ban spy glasses.
So next time we meet...
I'm now
You thinking of getting
very wary of anybody who's wearing Ray-Bans. I think that's
right. You're like, are you recording me? So next time we see you, Gretchen, you're just going to be recording us and then uploading all the information to ChatGPT so we can get better profiling on the rest of us. Interesting. I wonder how they look when they're actually recording. I know Doug sent his away because they were too narrow for his head, right? He wanted some extra wide ones.
correct.
I'd be interested to see, Gretchen, once you've got them recorded and things like that. I'd like to know what the quality looks like because I've never seen them in action. Don't know anything about them. And I didn't even know you could get prescription lenses put in them. That's a bit crazy. All right. So go ahead, Martin. Sorry.
No, I imagine they're just like regular glasses in terms of the prescription elements. But I just wonder whether there's a little. In fact, there's a little light that turns on to let people know it's you are recording. Because we had this conversation with Doug.
Right.
He said, yeah, there is, because they have to put that in there. But of course, there's a software flick,
turn it off. Yeah, piece of gaffer tape. Gretchen said they got a light when recording. Yeah, I'm sure you're going to put a little Sharpie and take that off. Colour tally light, aren't they? But yeah, that'd be interesting to see. All right. Well, I can't believe an hour's gone by already. I thought we'd be struggling to find things to talk about and keep the conversation going today. But as ever, our wonderful audience has kept us on point with comments and some good questions. And we have a lot coming up. And just one more comment coming up here. If we see Gretchen talking to herself or walking around Meta glasses, we know she's a spy. Yes. People used to, remember when you used to get those Bluetooth headsets and you used to see people in the street and they'd be like really shouting because they couldn't hear themselves very well because they got an earpiece in and they had a Bluetooth headset. Supermarkets and things like that. All right. So we have a ton of stuff coming up. We have guests and all kinds of things. So shall we go to our next scene and share some stuff, what we're doing with our guests, shall we?
Yeah.
All right. I guess we'll start with tomorrow. So tomorrow we have the one and only Fulgens Henry is joining us. Indeed. So we're going to be talking to Fulgens tomorrow at on this channel at the same time, but in vertical, right? Have I got that right? We are in vertical tomorrow, aren't we? So Fulgens is joining us on the vertical show part 2. We can't get enough of doing vertical video, clearly. We already did one this Tuesday. Today is our normal show, and tomorrow we've got another one planned. So join us at 5 p.m. tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern, where Fulgens is going to be joining us on the vertical show, and Martin's going to be showing some of the stuff he's been doing, and we'd be interested to know Fulgens' take on the whole vertical format. And as you know, Fulgens is from Building Blocks with himself and Anna, and they do a lot of design work as well and layout. So I'll be interested to have his take and his thoughts around sort of the whole vertical video movement, especially for things like LinkedIn and using Ecamm to do that.
Yeah. Because he already does a lot of Instagram and all sorts of other stuff. So, yeah, be interested to hear what his take on the whole thing is. But we'll be showing him some stuff he'll not have seen before.
Exactly. And Valerie is asking us, how many shows per week will you be doing? Well, currently we're only going to be doing 2. It's just that this week we decided to add another one, Valerie. So we're just we're just keeping you on your toes. And it's really penance for causing us all kinds of hassle at the beginning of the show with the slapback problems. So that's why we've added that show. We only added that show straight after the fact that you told us there was slapback. Just kidding. Thank you for joining us as well, Valerie. It's really kind of you. And then to add to that, next week's vertical show. So same channel, but now a different time. So we are moving, Valerie, just to let you know that we are moving our show to 6 p.m. on Tuesdays UK, 1 p.m. Eastern, so we don't clash with Ecamm and a few other things that's going on. We wanted to make sure that we have some time to let people join us as well. So, do you want to talk about our guest, Martin, on Tuesday?
Yeah. So Lux, co-founder of StreamAlive, he's been on a couple of our shows before, but this time round we're bringing on to the vertical show, and the reason for that is that you can do StreamAlive in square format, which sits really nicely in vertical. Myself and Neil are both part of the alpha group for StreamAlive, which means we get to talk directly to Lux and make suggestions, and Square was one of my suggestions, and they implemented it. So now, of course, for my sins, I now have to demo it looking good. So that's what I'll be attempting to do. And Streamer Live is releasing a whole bunch of new themes, which should be coming out on Tuesday in the morning. So by the afternoon, I need to have got them working. So that will be really interesting to have Lux on. And Streamer Live has just been announced as the Zoom app of the month. So a companion for Zoom, Streamer Live and Zoom working together. So I guess we'll be doing Streamer Live and Zoom working together, or even maybe we'll get it working to multiple platforms, because it can also reach out to multiple platforms at the same time and gather the comments in to drive the interactions. So that will be for next Tuesday.
Definitely. Before we move on to the next guest, Robin has a question. I have a tech challenge for you. My OBSBot Tiny 2 has a latency issue with Ecamm. Tried mic delay, recording in 4K, but it's still not sync audio and video. Right, so if I may just take a break for a second and I'll switch over to my camera. So I've got the, I've got the Tiny 2 4K here as well. And one of the things you can check with it is to make sure that it is plugged in using the USB, high-speed USB cable that you got with it. That's point number one. And it has to be plugged into a compatible port on your Mac. So some Mac ports don't offer the same speed and throughput as the high-speed cable that comes with the Tiny 2. So that's the first thing to check. The other thing is to understand what your Tiny 2 is coming in at onto Ecamm. So is it coming in at 4K? Is it coming in at 1080? And you might want to change that. The quick way you can check, I'm just going to live demo mode. Let me just make sure I've not got anything on the screen that we shouldn't have on the screen. So if I just go into live demo mode, just real quick, you'll see down here, I don't know if I can zoom in or not on this thing. It doesn't look like I can. Yeah, there you go. So if you look in your camera effects, Robin, and go to the camera, if you click on the OBSBot Tiny 2 stream camera means that it's using the USB connection. Then this is coming in at 4K, but there's a setting down here on camera effects where you can just see it, and it says use maximum resolution 4K. And that means that the camera is going to pick up a 4K signal and then be broadcast using Ecamm. So that's one thing to check in terms of the connectivity. If there's mic delay and so on, it might be hitting a resource limit on your machine for some apparent reason. I don't know what kind of machine you've got, whether it's a Mac M1, M2, something like that. So it might be something that's going on with your machine as well. So take a look at that. But if you get stuck, you can just reach out to myself or Martin and we can get on a call and have a look and see if we can fix it. But recording in 4K, what I would try is if you set your stream resolution on your Ecamm preferences to 1080p and try that, because 4K may be too much for your machine, and what you might be getting is the fact that when you're trying to record at 4K, your disk I/O, that's the input output write speed to your disk, may not be keeping up, and that's may be why it's going. So you've got an M1 Pro. Okay, well, try those first, turn down the settings to 1080, try that and see if there's a problem. And if it's way out of sync, what microphone are you using as well? Because if you've got your microphone and your Tiny 2 plugged into the same USB bus, that could be causing you problems as well. So there's a few things to check, but we can certainly have a look. But you're welcome. You try QuickTime as well. Yeah, that's a good test. Always try QuickTime first, see what the thing is and see what it's recording at, and maybe change the cable, maybe try a different port on your machine and so on. And I know if it's a MacBook, they're limited with ports, so you may need to get a CalDigit or something like that. All right, so let's go back to it's a Shure SM. Oh, it's a Shure SM. Whatever it's called, the latest one. Okay. Well, there might be
6, yeah.
That's the one
USB.
that has. Yeah, that's the one that has. What is it? Built-in
they're both going
effects
USB.
and things. Yeah, so you might want to check, Robin. It could be a USB issue or something like that. All right, let's go back to our next guest. So, Next guest on next Thursday's show, so it's a week today, is Lee Warren, and this is somebody who Martin knows. Maybe you just want to explain who Lee is, and Martin has got his book there, so he's an author and speaker.
So yeah, Lee's a keynote presenter, and I kind of noticed Lee on LinkedIn and on the Ecamm fam. So we both got talking, and he was about to go live on LinkedIn, so I jumped on a call with him and gave him a few hints and tips, and he was delighted about getting some hints and tips, and then sent me his book on presenting for busy people, which is great. And he does a show with a gentleman called Jez Rose, who's an ex-TV children's presenter, and they do some great stuff on LinkedIn Live. It's called Can You Hear Me at the Back? So it's just an interesting take next week to have Lee on and chat about pre-COVID times and what he did then, and post-COVID, and the bit in between where, oh my Lord, what do I do? And have I still got a job? And will I ever be doing the job again? And then where that's taken him to afterwards, because he's picked up skills along the line. And I'd be interested to find out just how many times now he does sort of virtual presenting, and how that goes, and what he's found as the challenges and things like that. So it should be a really interesting and slightly different show.
Fantastic.
And we can also quiz him about what makes great presenting as
Yeah,
well.
we can always learn from that, definitely. I'd love to find out a little bit more. So that's Lee a week today. And then on Tuesday, the 18th of February, we just thought we'd line these people up. We've got Jan, who's going to be joining us. And those of you that know Jan, he's an amazing presenter, facilitator, and helps people be more confident on camera with their presentations and so on. He's actually writing a book at the moment called The Ice Breakers / Melters. And it's all about sort of how to build trust, increase engagement, and foster deep connections. That's what he's all about. So we're really excited to have Jan on the show. We've been trying to get him on for a little while, and we've managed to find a date that works for all of us. So that's 6 p.m., 1 p.m.
18th.
Eastern, Tuesday, the 18th of February. So it's going to be fun. And Jeremy's joined us at the last minute. Were you here all the time, Jeremy? You were very quiet, but you're doing a bacon welfare check on Valerie Pinkton. That's really funny. You guys and bacon. Love it. All right. Well, it's 6:20. It's nearly time for dinner. So we're going to have to love you and leave you all. We will be back tomorrow. Same time, same channel. Go ahead, Martin. Sorry.
That's there, yeah. It's Jeremy mentioning bacon, and immediately
I know. Immediately, I need to have some dinner.
And, and end the stream. Thank you very much for turning up and doing that, Jeremy.
Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, that's an on point. You need to do that every time at 6:15, just so we know it's time for dinner. So anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. It's a real pleasure to have you in the comments and chat, and that's what makes the show so enjoyable to engage with you all. We will be back, funnily enough, 24 hours, a little bit less, from now, tomorrow with Fulgens on The Vertical Show. Martin's the one that's going to be pressing all the buttons. I'll be sitting back with a cocktail because it's Friday. Until then, I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now. Bye from Portugal.
Cheerio.